Good morning, DepEd Dasmariñas. Today we are entering a special series. We are going to honor our women, not only in Dasmariñas but the women as a whole. Maraming pong salamat sa lahat ng mga teachers, mga parents, mga estudyante na laging nakatutok sa atin every Friday as we discuss about different issues concerning education here at Today with DepEd Dasma. Every March, we are celebrating National Women's Month. We've started the month of March through Today with DepEd Dasma by featuring, if you would recall, no, last week our guest was Sir Orly Barachina because we've also discussed about how to become safe, especially now that we are celebrating as well the Fire Prevention Month. Starting this Friday up to the next Fridays of March, we will be entering a new series and we call it Women's Month series. We'll be discussing about issues concerning our women, our teachers, our homemakers, our professionals, our students, our grandmother, our aunts, all the women out there. This is how DepEd Dasmariñas salutes all of you for all the dedication and for all the love you give that makes this nation as it is today. This morning makakasama po natin ang isang napaka-inspiring na babae na nakilala ko. I've met her in one of our gender and development sessions. That must be 2 years ago. And I was very moved by her story. I was very inspired by her determination, by how she carries herself, that you will not believe how hard life was for her. For some of us, her story might be familiar with you. Our guest this morning, I would like to read her background. Is a 31-year-old and a graduate of Bachelor of Secondary Education from Philippine Normal University. Kasi isa din po siyang teacher. She has been active in sharing her life story in various youth bridging events and even in media. It was year 2014 when it was first aired at 700 Club Asia, followed by the short film produced by GMA7 shown every Holy Week, entitled Tanikala sa Isang Iglap, where her life was portrayed by Ms. Glyza De Castro. On the year 2018, when ABS-CBN's Maalaala Mo Kaya showcased her life story and the history of Rescue Kabataan, it has the hashtag MMK, the prodigal daughter. And the latest was with Kapuso Mo, Jessica Soho. I watched this. It was Ma'am Jess, the show featured the history of Rescue Kabataan and her wonderful married life. She is currently our civil society representative to the United Nations for Youth Toolbox and recently awarded the Best Volunteer Story during the World Festival of Youth and Students held in Sochi, Russia. The founder of Rescue Kabataan Philippines, an NGO and a movement adopted by the Office of the President National Youth Commission, a formal program of the Adopt a School program, and a pilot project of the newest department called the YFD or the Youth Formation Division of DepEd to saturate all the campuses in the Philippines to rescue the youth from drugs, vices, sexual abuse, pornography, wrong relationships, and suicide. I will no longer keeping you waiting. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Abegail Raymundo Mesa. Hello, Miss Abby. Good morning.
Hi! Good morning po sa ating lahat, especially sa ating mga kababayan dyan sa Cavite. Hindi ko sasabihin long time no see kasi nung Monday lang ay guest speaker naman tayo ng mga kaibigan natin from EYAC Cavite and
Talaga
EYAC
po.
Manila. Yes. So, welcome back sa welcome back.
I must say welcome back nga po.
Yes.
Miss Abby, just before we proceed, I'm very excited that all our women in DepEd Dasmariñas be inspired by your story, because I, for one, was already inspired during our God session. And I will never forget that sa ngalan ng pag-ibig theme of your session that time with us. But before anything else, Miss Abby, as we celebrate Women's Month, we have our partners helping us honoring our women in DepEd Dasmariñas, and they are Human Nature Imus Cavite. Marami pong salamat sa Human Nature Imus Cavite, and Encabo Skin and Hair Clinic by Dr. Ryan Encabo. Talagang they are committed to making the Caviteña beautiful. Dr. Encabo is
Yes,
one of the
yes.
finest in Dasmariñas. Miss Abby, how
Yes,
are
Sir
you?
Maki,
Yes, opo.
maisingit ko lang dahil nabanggit mo na si Doc Ryan. Hi Doc Ryan, if you're watching or pag napadaan ka sa video na to, I'm so grateful sa life mo. Doc Ryan, sponsored ng aking skincare and wellness nung bago ako ikasal
Oh,
as his gift. Yes, nung nasa Cavite pa ako nakatira. So, kung kayo ay naghahanap ng talagang magaling na team na pwedeng mag-alaga sa inyong kutis. Grabe ba? Kala mo naman. Ay, po.
kaya pala sana all glass skins.
So, Doc Ryan, salamat po sa inyo. Okay, miss ko na po kayo. And of course, ang Human Nature, once in a while, nagpapadala sa akin ng mga PR packages. Yan. Hindi Human Nature Cavite, sa ibang
Opo,
lugar.
sa Human Nature po.
Okay. So, salamat din.
Nakakatuwa po na that we have this partners talaga. And of course, Miss Abby, you as Rescue Kabataan Philippines is also one of our most active partners for our youth formation programs. Salamat po. Marami pong salamat. Miss Abby, how are you? How are you doing, especially during this pandemic?
Okay. So, during this pandemic, of course, hindi ako magpapaka-plastic, hindi din ako magpapabebe sa inyong lahat na nanonood ngayon. Of course, it is very challenging. Until now, it is very challenging. It's because meron na tayong routine na nakasanayan before pandemic. The first part of pandemic, di ba parang nag-enjoy ka pa kasi finally nakapagpahinga ako, mga ganyan, di ba? So, na-enjoy mo pa. Pero after a month na nagpapahinga ka na, especially kung ikaw yung tao na sanay kang kumilos, and then eto na, nagkakaroon na ng anxiety, and then nagkakaroon ka ng mga worries. Ako yung klaseng tao, Sir Maki, na isa sa dinidil ko talaga sa sarili ko ay I worry too much. I really keep myself na labanan yon. Uh, pero most of the times talaga, I cry for things na hindi pa nangyayari. I don't know kung may mga nanonood tayong nakaka-relate doon. I cry for things na hindi pa nangyayari. And because of that, there's a tendency for me to slowly lose your faith, di ba? My faith and yung spirit of ng pag-fight sa life, the fighting spirit. So during this pandemic, on and off, may time na parang, hindi, kaya yan, hindi, on the go. Pero may mga times na, okay, may mangyayari pa ba? Especially sa Rescue Kabataan na in school, parang biglaan na parang, wala kaming operation sa school. So, online. And you know what, Sir Maki, I'll be very honest, hindi ako prepared online. Many people would tell me na, you know what, magaling kang mag-speak, you know what, bakit di mo i-maximize yung social media mo? If you're gonna visit my Facebook page, you know that you would really see that I rarely post. And hindi ako yung klaseng tao na lagi ako magpo-post. Wala akong Instagram, wala akong YouTube account. So struggling talaga ako pagdating sa social media. I'm a person na I want na physical, yung live, kanyan. So that has been my journey for during this pandemic.
Nakakatuwa po, no? I'm very sure most of our women and most of us in general could relate when you said na, ano po ba yun? Sometimes we tend to overthink, especially things are still uncertain up to
Yeah.
this day. And Miss Abby, um, more than being a founder of Rescue Kabataan, of course, you also have your family.
Yes.
And you have to juggle all the passion for your advocacy and, of course, the love for your family. How do how do this uh, admittedly, ma'am, no, you mentioned that you have the tendency to overthink. How did this affect, your function as a wife, your function as a founder? Because I'm very sure, nako, napakarami din po nating mga nanay ngayon, mga teacher na
Mhm.
nakaka-relate na parang sobrang iniisip nila yung mga wala pa namang hindi pa nangyayari pero it saturates their mind already.
Yes. Yeah. Again, magpapakatotoo ako, hindi ako flawless. Okay. Many people would think na, she's strong. She's very strong. But you know what? I have a lot of flaws. And marami po akong topak. And it just so happened that God is so great. God is so great and so sovereign that of course in a marriage, that's why merong partnership, 'di ba? And I would allow my husband to correct me. He would allow me to correct him and to rebuke each other. Lalo na ngayong pandemic, alam mo yun, one thing that I really learned, even before pandemic, is that um, okay, speaker ako. For example, ngayon, speaker ako, guest ako, pero after nito, wife ako at saka mother ako. So,
Yeah.
tatanggalin mo kung ano man yung title na meron ka pagkatapos nito. Pagkatapos nito, magluluto pa rin ako, paghahainan ko pa rin sila. I would do everything. And you know what, during this pandemic, my husband allowed me to enhance my skills in baking. Okay, so I baked a lot and then, especially nung tapos na yung ECQ, marami kaming naging bisita. So ako yung klaseng tao na very hands-on. So I prepare everything sa ano, ayoko nang nag-take out, ayoko ng instant. So from breakfast, lunch, dinner, I do all of those things. Very hands-on ako. And then yung son namin is modular, 'di ba? So everything. So paano mo yun ibabalanse? Hindi ko siya nababalanse every day, okay? May mga araw na nagrereklamo ako, okay? Mga kababaihan na nanonood diyan, baka nakaka-relate kayo. May mga araw na parang nagsasabi ako sa husband ko, "Oh, ang dami kong ginawa, so pagkatas na 'to kayo mag-uusap pinag-iipon." Okay. So nagsasabi ako na kailangan ng tasking. Okay? Hati-hati ng gagawin. Pero alam mo, ang nakakatawa sa akin, sasabihin ko 'yun pero kapag sasabihin ng husband ko na ako na magluluto, sabi ko hindi, gusto ko ako magluto, okay? And one good thing is my husband allowed me to have what you call day off. I have a day off once a week. Meron akong day off. And dun sa day off na yon, so sila ang kikilos. Okay? But for the whole week, may sinet na akong menu, ganyan. So it's very important na dapat nagplan ka ahead. So may menu ako for the whole week. Okay, na yun ang lulutuin ko. May isang araw kami na mamalengke na ako para the whole week I can perform the task for Rescue Kabataan. But at the same time, I can perform a task as a wife and as a mother. One important lesson that I am working on now as a woman is that you need to let go yung pagrereklamo. Okay? We tend to complain. Okay? We tend to
Yes.
complain. And you know what? Love is not like that. When you serve other people with a complaining with complaints, then grumbling heart, then that is not love. Okay, love serves people. So that's a challenge for all of us. Although it might be very tiring, but yun nga yung love. If you really understand what love is, then you will really do what love can do to others. It's not more on yourself, but it's more on other people. Of course, it might sound so easy to do and it's very challenging, but let me tell you, it's an everyday process. It's an everyday journey. Pwede ngayon, ma-fulfill mo siya. The following morning, mag-iba ang ihip. It's an everyday journey. That's why every day, you need to you need to keep in your mind that, okay, I'm gonna serve rather than asking people to serve me. Because you know what, especially sa mga babae, um, people tend to disappoint us if we look at them. Pero if you yourself know that I'm gonna serve because this is my form of love, then less disappointments will happen.
That's so cute. That's really inspiring, especially to our women. Maraming nakaka-relate sa inyo. Din Chua is watching. Have you met Din Chua of School of Education of EA Cavite?
Hindi,
Miss
hindi
Abby.
pa.
Okay. But she's one of the best women I've ever met in my life. She's very inspiring. But of course, she could also relate to it because she's a mother, she's a wife, and she's a dean of one
Mm-mm.
department in EA Cavite. Ma'am, I would like to zero in on when you mentioned na you had your you have your day off, kind of internal arrangement sa bahay na day off. How
Yes.
did you tell your husband that, honey, I need a day off?
Yes. You know, one good thing about my husband, ang lagi niyang sinasabi sa akin, "Ay, hindi mo kailangan kumilos, okay? If marami kang gagawin, ako magluluto." So may gano'n, "Hindi mo kailangan kumilos," ganyan. Pero kasi ako, gusto ko talaga ako ang sa kitchen. Gusto ko ako 'yan. Okay. So I make it to the point. Kaya kung magde-decide ka, halimbawa yung mga babaeng nanonood ngayon, kung magde-decide ka na ikaw magluluto, then dapat hindi ka magrereklamo kasi ikaw yung nag-decide nun. Okay? And then, so nung, actually sa marriage namin, pwedeng hindi ako kumilos kasi my husband knows how to cook. He's very good in cooking also. Pero it is really a decision. It's a commitment. Now, when I told my husband, si Rart, kay gusto ko ng ng Sunday day off ko. Okay. Then my husband said, it's okay. Okay lang. Ganon. Kasi nga may ganon na siyang ugali even before pa. Okay. Kung bagod ka, I can do all those things. It's just that I'm committed as a wife and as a woman. Sabi ko nga, paglabas ng Rescue Kabataan, hindi ako founder. Okay? Wife ako. Servant. So I hope yung mga teachers na nanood sa atin, di ba, although it's very minsan toxic talaga, demanding yung work. Yun yung sinasabi, 'di ba? Pagka tapos ng work, ibababa mo yung corona mo. Babalik ka sa bahay, servant ka, okay? Wife ka. So, yun.
That's so nice. Miss Abby, ang ganda no when you said na yes, you have different roles to play, but you know how to put limitations. Now when you're out of the Rescue Kabataan, you are a mother. Miss Abby, how do you spend? Because we're trying to give ano po ba tawag dito? How do I say this? Most of our women are really hindi katulad sa paano ba how do I say this in the most gender fair language I could.
Mhm.
Di po ba kasi pag ang babae when they come to attend to it kahit may kailangan pang ayusin, aayusin mo, and that's very demanding. On your day off, how do you spend it? For our women watching right now, the first thing Miss Abby was telling you is talk to your husband. I am a woman. I am a teacher. This is what I do in school. This is what I do at home. I need a day off. Would you give me one? And if your husband or he should award you with a day off. How should they spend that day off? Like how you do, Miss Abby?
Okay. I usually spend my day, since Sunday kasi online service, 'di ba? So of course we do service, Sunday service. Pero may mga our whole family kasi is a regular walker. Okay, ibig sabihin we walk 15 kilometers, 17, 18 kilometers, so 3 times a week. Okay, pag may mga times na meron kami gustong puntahan ng Sunday, so additional yon. So yung day off ko, may walk pa kami kasi may gusto kami puntahan. So yun, ganun kalayo. So it's a family bonding. So kasama na yon sa day off mo. And then the usual thing I do with my day off, it's my time to watch whatever I want to watch. The whole week, actually buong family namin, hindi mo makikita halos na nag-on ng TV. Hindi kami ma-TV na family. Our son doesn't have gadget. So, hindi din siya nakakapanood the whole week. Meron lang allotted na 2 hours sa kanya pag weekend. Ganun lang. So, ako, pagka day off ko, I choose kung anong Korean movie, Korean drama na gusto kong panoorin. Pero you know what, ang naiinis ako sa sarili ko kasi sa day off ko, gusto ko sana yung nakahiga lang ako, ganyan yung ma-feel mo. Pero kasi, ewan ko, parang hindi kaya ng katawan mo. Yung parang na, ano ka na, wala akong gagawin, naaligaga ako. Gusto ko dumating sa point na 4 hours akong nanonood, alam mo, ng Korean drama, pero hindi, usually tumatagal lang ako 2 hours, tapos pagkatapos nun parang I feel na parang sobra na ako, ganyan. So, I stop. What I do is I write a lot. So I write a lot. Yung day off ko, I plan ahead. So magpa-plan na ako ng menu ko for the whole week, and then magpa-plan na ako ng ipapamalengke, and then magpa-plan na ako for the whole week ng sino yung mga kakausapin ko, i-email ko, and then ano yung mga i-check ko lahat yung calendar at sino yung mga nagpa-reserve for speaking, and then ano yung mga kailangan ko pang ipasa. So basically yung, and then most of the time ng day off ko nauubos talaga sa pagsusulat because I love writing. So I write a lot, and then yung mga thoughts ko doon ko lahat binubuhos. So buong day ko productive pa rin. Sabi ko nga, ang pagpapahinga, ang day off can be a lazy day or a day off with a purpose pa rin. So I choose na maging day off siya with a purpose.
It's a day off with a purpose. Minsan kasi, no, Miss Abby, parang we have our different ways of relaxing. It may
Yes.
be odd for some, pero halimbawa po ako, mas nare-relax ako kapag I do some school stuff na parang akala ko magre-relax. Eh bakit may ginagawa? Di ba po, parang
Yes.
I'm sure our women could relate.
Yes.
Meron akong friend, I had a friend, she's also a wife. The
Mhm.
the way of her relaxing herself is to wash clothes. Parang to do the
Yes.
laundry. Akala ko pagod ka, bakit ka naglalaba? Sometimes ano po, we have our different ways to cope up with stress. We have our
Yes.
ways to relax. Miss Abby, you mentioned that you're flawless. I mean, you're not flawless, sorry. You're
Yes.
not flawless as how we see you right now.
Mhm.
Um, Miss Abby, what is with what's going on right now? What was it that you experienced in the past that made you a woman of optimism that even to tomorrow is still uncertain? Here you are talking to us, inspiring the women of DepEd Dasmariñas. Would you mind sharing?
Okay. Of course, if you know my story, 'di ba lagi nga sinasabi, parang, would you even doubt how faithful God is? 'Di ba? Dun sa ginawa niya sa life ko. Imagine from being a drug addict, from being a victim of gang rape, and from being a former prostitute, would you still, and then committing suicide for 3 times, would you still doubt what God can do to my life? Ganun yung tinatanong ko sa sarili ko. Of course, there are days, come on guys, there are really days, a lot of days sa isang Abigail na I cry to God and I ask God na, Lord, may purpose pa ba? Imagine, that's why, you know what, every time I see myself, I check myself, I still really find myself so immature. Of course, what you can see is just a facade. Okay? I really need to say this because this is the truth. I have a lot of immaturities. And the mere fact that God has already rescued me, okay, may mga araw pa rin na ano ka, para ka, para bang hindi ako ni-rescue. Gets nyo? And um, what made me like this right now is every time I feel that way, every time na parang, oops, wait lang Abigail, parang nakakalimutan mo yung ginawa sa'yo ng Diyos. Every time I go back what God has done in my life, dun na, I would kneel, I would cry on my knees, and then I would think all those things na ginawa sa akin ni Lord. And then eventually, makikita ko na, wow, I'm just a product of His grace. And yun yung nag-push sa akin why I commit myself na, okay, I have a purpose here in this nation. I have a purpose in this generation. So, ano nang gagawin ko? Okay? I always ask myself yung ganong question. Okay, Abigail, naging founder ka ng Rescue Kabataan, so what? Kasi you know what, that is the thing that is helping me ha. Um, Kailangan ko kasing ibalik lagi yung sarili ko sa ground. Okay? Because I have a tendency na lumaki yung ulo and then I have a tendency na parang, okay, I'm the founder, so hello, okay. I mean, Rescue Kabataan can still be Rescue Kabataan without me. Okay? I am not Rescue Kabataan. Okay? I am just a steward of God's movement. So I always ask myself, okay, founder ka ng Rescue Kabataan, CEO ka ng Rescue Kabataan, ano ngayon? What's next? What can you do? Okay? Uh, um, calling is not a position alone. A calling is a commitment. Okay? Halimbawa, ikaw teacher ka, calling mo yan. But you should know your higher purpose. It doesn't end na nalaman mo yung calling mo. Mothers na nanonood sa atin ngayon, it is a calling. It is a great calling. Pero hindi siya natutuldukan ng calling lang. May purpose, may higher purpose. Okay, magulo man yung anak mo, ang higher purpose mo pa rin mahalin yan. Mahalin yung asawa mo, pagsilbihan. That is your higher purpose. Mga estudyante, okay, you have a calling to study. Okay, to be a student, but hindi lang yun, may higher purpose ka. Magtapos ka, magsilbi ka sa mga magulang mo, and then, maging mabuti kang mamamayang Pilipino. That is a higher purpose. So, hindi lahat ng tao naiintindihan na, okay, calling ko, maging founder ng Rescue Kabataan, magsilbi sa kabataan. Pero, anong higher purpose ko? So, what I mean is, our calling should not be a positional. Our calling must have a higher purpose in life. Okay? And that pushes me to be who I am right now. But ladies, especially sa mga babae, again, hindi to instant, okay, na overnight. It's a long process. Until now, I am on the process. Sabi nga, 'di ba, kahit sa huling hininga mo, nasa process tayo lahat. But lagi ko nga sinasabi, but one good thing is we can decide to start every day. Okay? It's an everyday battle. So, mga nanonood sa atin ngayon, huwag ka mapanghinaan ng loob kung, kahapon wala, palpak yung araw. Then, tomorrow, it's an everyday battle. Remember, God is a God of renewal. He renews our life every day. Okay, so again, push yourself to have a calling that has a higher purpose. Don't have a calling na positional lang.
Thank you, Miss Abby. Every question I throw you is a wisdom that you return to me. Nakakatuwa naman po. Miss Abby, I hope this is okay with you because for
Yeah.
sure, a lot of our mothers watching right now, especially, alam niyo naman po, in DepEd, we cater to all walks of life and all the parents, all the mothers have different problems as regards their daughters, as regards their children. So, siguro being, as we celebrate Women's Month, for all the mothers who have a little difficulty with their daughters. It's not ano po bang tawag dito? It's we can't we can't we can't always play safe with words na sasabihin na hindi naman lahat, but there are really situations na nagiging problema ng kanilang mga nanay ang kanilang mga anak, di ba? Kaya nga laging,
Mm,
babae ka pa namang anak ko, tapos ganito, ganyan. But you've mentioned
mm.
earlier, you were like this, you were like that. If I can repeat what you've said,
Yes.
you have tried to use drugs. Um, you were once a prostitute. Um, and uh, how for our mothers to have hopes? How did you turn over a new leaf?
Okay. With that question, gagamitin ko yung mama ko as an example to encourage our mothers. You know what? Um, my mom, imagine, 11 years niyang binatel yung kalokohan ko. Imagine, 11 years. And dun sa ika-11th year, 23 years old na ako, dun siya sumuko. Remember, if you don't know my story, yung mama ko, nasa missionary pastor siya, nasa Thailand siya nung 23 years old ako, at nag-pray na siya. The desperate prayer, and ang prayer niya nga ay, Lord, kung hindi mo napapakinabangan at ng bansang Pilipinas si Abigail, kunin mo na siya. And I always ask the parents, especially the moms, I mean, who would have prayed that kind of prayer? I mean, walang gustong manalangin ng ganong panalangin, kagaya ng ginawa ng mama ko. Pero, di ba, it's a desperate prayer. Talagang suko na siya. Kaysa madagdagan pa yung mga kalokohan ko, ganun yung mga sinabi niya sa akin. And you know what? Uh, in that case, pero sabi nga ng mama ko, nung time na pinag-pray niya na kunin na lang ako ni Lord, um, the Lord imparted in her heart na, no, I have a purpose. You just keep on praying. So one solution that I can, one suggestion that I can share to our mothers right now is that you surrender it to God. You could surrender your child to God, but keep on loving. When we say keep on loving, we do not tolerate sin. My mom did not tolerate my sin. Imagine, hindi naman ako umuwi sa kanila. Halos hindi nila ako nakikita for how many years, but they never tolerated. There were times that I called them asking for money, and then my mom would say, no, hindi. Okay, hindi, because they know that I would use it for vices, etc. And dumating sa point that na tinatakot ko yung mama ko, sasabihin ko, napapatayin ko sarili ko. And they know that I already committed suicide for 3 times. And then my mom would say, it's up to you. Okay, I surrendered you to God. You know, it's a hardcore love. Yung love na sinasabi ko, that we surrender them to God, but at the same time, we keep on loving them. That kind of love means we ask God na i-provide niya yung patience. We ask God i-provide niya yung patience na okay, kung ano man yung ginagawa ng anak ko ngayon, I'm surrendering it to God, but at the same time, I'm patient enough to wait what God can do for his life, for his or her life. That is one of the good characteristics of my mom. As in, napaka-tindi ng patience niya na antayin na may plano pa rin sa akin si Lord. Imagine yung yung katulad ko na anak, pwede ka pa bang mag-hope na meron pa akong kinabukasan? So that's the second keyword. My mom prayed and keep on loving me, okay, with the love of the Lord, but at the same time, number two, she keeps on hoping. Hope is in the Lord. You hope in the Lord. Hindi siya nag-hope sa akin. Kasi pag nag-hope siya sa akin, nakaka-disappoint nga, di ba? So same with us. Hindi ka mag-hope sa anak mo na, dapat ganito yung grade niya. Nag-hope pa naman ako, maasa pa naman ako na 90 plus siya. No? Maasa pa naman ako na hindi siya mag-boyfriend. Maasa pa naman ako na hindi siya mabuntis ng gantong edad. You hope in the Lord. Kasi kapag nag-hope tayo sa tao, people can disappoint us. Okay, yun yung stand ng mama ko eh. Gail, hindi ako nag-hope sa'yo kasi you keep on disappointing me and you will keep on disappointing me. But my hope is in the Lord. So that's number two. I keep on hoping to the Lord that God will do a miracle to that child. Okay. And then number three, one of the biggest lesson I've learned from my mom is that she never, ever, she never uses whatever past I had. Okay. Halimbawa, yung anak mo nagkamali. Okay? Yung anak mo bumagsak sa isang subject last year, hindi gagamitin yun ng mama ko para i-push niya ako. Eh, kasi ganyan ka na last year eh. O what do you expect ngayong year, ganyan ka. Diba? Wala na akong ano sa'yo, wala na akong tiwala sa'yo. My mom never, until now, my mom would never ever use my past to push me or to awaken me. Ganun siguro yung taktika niya. Okay, yun yung nag-work sa aming dalawa. But what amazes me more is that um, even though meron siyang license, okay, meron siyang license to use that against me. Okay, pwede niya akong sumbatan na, alam mo, ikaw, kung ganito ka lang, sana ganyan ka na ngayon, okay, etc. But she never claimed that license. And that for me is an evidence of God's love. Only the people who experience God's love can do the same thing. My mom experienced God's love. That's why she can really share that unconditional love. The number three, yung sinabi ko na she never uses my past. Don't ever uses the past of your kids to push them. Okay? Pero at the same time, yung sinabi ko nga na that is an evidence of God's love. Okay, you get the love from God so that you can also share the love of God to your kids. Okay, I believe that if my mom did not experience that kind of love, unconditional love, she cannot give me that unconditional love as well. And as a final suggestion to our mothers, we are called, okay, we are called to have unconditional love. In season or out of season. Yun ang unconditional love eh. In season or out of season eh. My mom still loved me with the love of the Lord kahit na nag-a-addict na ako. My mom still loved me kahit prostitute ako before. That is unconditional love. Of course, guys, sabi ko nga, hindi ako magpapabebe. Unconditional love in this world, it's so hard, right? It's so hard. Especially sa mga tao sa pamilya mo na dapat sila yung dapat madali na silang mahalin, okay? Pero 'di ba, aminin natin, sa loob ng pamilya natin, dun mo makikita yung mga unlovable, yung mga unlikable people. Okay? But you know what, guys? We are called. That is our biggest calling. We are called to love unconditionally. Again, it's not instant. It's an everyday battle. Ngayon, nag-fail ka to love your parents, nag-fail ka to love your kid, nag-fail ka to love your office mates, your kapatid, etc. Then tomorrow, you have a chance again to love them unconditionally. Okay, so basically yon ang pwede kong maipayo sa ating mga nanay.
Thank you so much, Miss Abby. And you mentioned it to love, but you've also mentioned that it's not easy to love, but every day is another chance to win the battle of loving another person. Miss Abby, thank you so much for sharing your story, for opening up once again your stories to all our women watching with us right now. For sure, they could relate to you with all the experiences that you had and how you managed to 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 be calm, to be mentally okay in this pandemic by asking your husband, I'm working during weekdays and this is also what I do. Can you give me a day off? And then that's so courageous of you. And I guess to all our women watching right now, mga ma'am, hindi po masama humingi ng day off. This is for you. Mas maging productive pa tayo at we could love more because we have loved ourselves first. Miss Abby, what is your one big message to all the women watching us right now?
Okay. Para sa mga kababaihan na nanonood sa atin ngayon, siguro one final suggestion that I can share to all of us is that um, we need to persevere, especially in this time. Perseverance is the key. Okay. Um, and in persevering, in having a perseverance, we need to make it as a habit. Okay? My husband would always tell me na we need to form a habit. At ang pagsuko o ang hindi pagsuko ay kailangan maging part ng ating habit. We need to persevere. Hindi ito yung panahon para sumuko tayo. Hindi ito yung panahon para magpabebe tayo. Hindi ito yung panahon, mga kabataan, para kumerengkeng tayo. Hindi ito yung panahon na para magpasaway tayo. This is a time for us, a very wonderful opportunity for us to persevere. You know what, guys? If we gonna persevere during this time, then one day, we gonna reap the harvest. And I hope kasama ka pag nag-reap ng harvest. Hindi yung manonood ka lang habang nagre-reap yung ibang tao ng harvest. Kailangan kasama tayo mag-reap ng harvest. And gaya nga ng sinabi ko kanina, my husband would always remind me that let's form a habit. This pandemic, habang nasa bahay ka, you form a habit. Habit of serving others, habit of respecting more of your parents, loving them unconditionally, habit of being productive, habit of not wasting your entire day with just your phone, FB scrolling, comparing yourself to others. Habit. You need to form a habit. Why? Because this habit will be your stepping stones to the best future that you can have. If you start forming your habits right now, then one day, makikita mo, madali na to sa akin. Yan, mahirap sa iba. Sa akin, madali na kasi nag-form na ako ng habit. Again, perseverance and at the same time, form good habits.
Thank you so much, Miss Abby. Just before I say, I mean, just before we end, no, just before we wrap this up, I would like to read some of the comments of our women. Very powerful women watching us right now. We have Dr. Belaño saying, "Salute to you, Miss Abby. I really admire the power that Miss Abigail has." And of course, our dean, si Dr. Chua, is still watching with us right now. Dr. Chua, hello po. Baka may load na po tayo. Biro lang po. And um, we have our Ma'am Ems Kalubag, our DRRM coordinator. She says she's really inspired whenever she listens to you. So inspiring. Our teachers are greeting you and saying their thanks, Ma'am, Ma'am Abby. At this point, Miss Abby, makakasama po natin, no? Isa rin po ito sa pinakamatatapang na babae sa DepEd Dasmariñas. Siya po ang aming Gender and Development Coordinator. Kumbaga sa piyestahan, siya po ang ermana ng selebrasyon ng Women's Month. Ladies and gentlemen, our Senior Education Program Specialist for Human Resource and Development, Dr. Vanessa Barcarce. Hello, Ma'am Vani. Good morning.
Hi,
Ma'am Vani, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yan. Greetings ulit. Good morning po. Miss Abby, nakakatawa ka po talagang pakinggan. Agree po ako doon sa mga comments na binasa ni Sir Maki. Talagang pagka po nakinig kami sa inyo, talagang mai-inspire kami. Kasi maraming beses na nadapa si Miss Abby, pero yung pagkakadapa na yun ay talagang pinilit niyang bumangon. Proud of you. Sabi nga, kahit sa panahon ng pandemya, Miss Abby, gagayahin ka namin, kayang-kaya ni Juana.
Yes,
Galing.
kayang-kaya.
Opo, kayang-kaya.
Kung kaya ni Miss Abby at ng kanyang nanay, no? Siguro, Ma'am Vani, I must say, napahanga ako ni Miss Abby. Pero Miss Abby, with due respect, napahanga po ako ng nanay ninyo.
Yes.
You know her ways. She did not stop on loving you. And yan, sa lahat ng mga magulang, sa lahat ng mga nanay. Ma'am Vani,
Yes po, Sir Maki.
we celebrate Women's Month. What is this
Correct.
about? Bakit po walang Men's Month?
Okay. Oo, nakakatawa yung mga tanong mo. Kasi tanong din niya ng karamihan, bakit tuwing Marso merong Women's Month celebration? Bakit walang Men's Month celebration? Kasi kung babalikan natin ang history, kapatid, alam din naman yan ni Ayan, naputol. Tama ba?
Naputol, opo, ma'am,
Oo,
naputol.
naputol.
Nasa
Oo.
history na tayo, ma'am eh.
Kung babalikan natin yung history, makikita natin na dati talaga ang pinaprioritas ay talagang mga kalalakihan. Dati-rate sabi, bakit ka mag-aaral babae?
Ma'am Bani, kailangan talagang mag-aral ang mga babae. Yan, medyo nagkakaroon lang po tayo ng interruption sa internet connection. I think. Okay, Doc Vani. Again, and as we celebrate the Women's Month again, we thank Human Nature Imus Cavite and Dr. Ryan Encabo of Encabo Skin and Hair Clinic. Doc Vani,
Ayan,
bakit ka
bakit ba,
mag-aaral babae ka lang?
bakit ba napuputol?
Talaga.
Ako lang? I'm
Opo.
sorry. Kakainis naman, nakakadalawa na. Bakit ka mag-aaral? Pambahay ka lang naman. So, yun yung struggle talaga ng mga kababaihan since the beginning. E di nga, nagkaroon ng gyera, no? Mga kababaihan na iwan sa bahay, ang mga kalalakihan ay nasa gyera.
Talagang, Ma'am Bani, nire-remove ko kayo sa screen kasi baka ma-screenshot po kayo ng mga... Ayan. Sobrang... Ako talaga, these are the, ano po, ma'am, no, limitations of internet. Ayan, Ma'am Bani.
Naging ganun.
Gitil na lola.
Ano yan? Naiinis na ako. Parang minumulto na ako rito. Basta yon, ang struggle talaga natin bilang kababaihan ay mapabilang ang link.
Ayan. Talaga naman ang struggle ng mga kababaihan ay mapabilang sa lipunan, yung maging irrelevant, no? And we're blessed that today we have women leaders. We already have, like Miss Abby, for one, is a founder of an NGO that really saves a lot of lives. Marami pong salamat, Miss Abby. You know, your presence, your life is a testimony that indeed, from the history that Miss Vani was mentioning earlier, malayo-layo na po ang narating ng ating advocacy para sa mga kababaihan. Yan. And Ma'am Abby, alam mo, on the last episode of Today with DepEd Dasma for Women's Month, ay, syempre, Human Nature and Dr. Encabo, they are here to help us honor the women. So we will be giving away prizes. So we have already with us the products that Human Nature has for all the women out there. Hindi ko muna po sasabihin, pero yun po yung tipo ng product na women lang po talaga ang makakagamit. And it's all natural. And Dr. Encabo will be giving away mga GCs. Oh, it's time to pamper yourself, ladies. So Dr. Encabo will give some GCs for you to pamper yourself. Eto na nga, Ma'am Vani, you were saying.
Nakakainis. Lumipat ako ng laptop. Iniiwanan ako ng laptop ko. So I was saying, sabi mo nga, yun nga, ang struggle talaga is bilang mga babae, sana naman lang yung karapatan ng kalalakihan ay maging equal din sa karapatan natin na tinatamasa. Kaya yun nga, yun ang struggle every March kasi ito yung nagsisilbing platform sa atin para lahat ng mga initiatives, yung mga contributions ng mga kababaihan ay once and for all ay ma-recognize sa atin sa community. At totoo nga naman, since the beginning, nagkaroon na po talaga ng pagbabago. Kaya itong ginagawa natin ngayon, Miss Abby, ito po ay isang advokasya para po ang ating mga kababaihan ay talagang magising na meron tayong batas na tumatangkilik sa atin o poprotekta sa anumang mga pang-aabuso. Opo, na nangyayari sa atin. At ako ay natutuwa dahil ikaw, Ma'am Abe, isang halimbawa ng isang babae na talagang kailangang ma-recognize. Kasi once and for all, you are empowered already bilang babae. At ngayon, ini-empower mo rin ang maraming kababaihan na nakikinig sa atin. Kasi sabi ko nga, minsan kang nadapa, pero ikaw ay hindi tumigil para muling bumangon. At ikaw ay isang halimbawa ng babaeng dapat tularan. Ano po? Yes,
Juana, kayang-kaya.
Oo, kayang-kaya. Na kumakin nakasurvive,
Yes.
nakakainit.
Ma'am Vani, I would also like to thank, of course, Human Nature, Miss Miss Melencia Elton, the owner of Human Nature Imus Cavite, Dr. Ryan Encabo. And I will not miss to thank the team that makes every week a success as this one. Of course, Dr. Fragilin Rafael, ang head ng ating research team. Si Doc Fraj ang nag-iisip ng mga concept natin weekly at naghahanap ng ating mga speaker na makakapag-inspire sa DepEd Dasmariñas. Maraming pong salamat. Miss Abby, Doc Vani, thank you so much for sharing your time this morning to inspire all the ladies out there. To all of us, Women's Month is a reminder, especially to the men, to the gentlemen, that in this world, there's nothing that also women cannot do.
Agree.
The life of Miss Abby is a very wonderful testimony to that. If she have succeeded, if she have made a 360 rotation of her life, all our young women watching us right now, all the mothers worrying about their young daughters right now, be inspired by the life of Miss Abby. Maraming pong salamat Miss Abby, Doc Vani, at sa lahat po ng mga kababaihan sa lungsod ng Dasmariñas. Thank you so much, and this march is for all the women of DepEd Dasma. Thank you and have a good lunch, everyone. Thank you so much. Maraming pong salamat.